Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu, and I've always been on a mission and a quest to interview the top minds out there, get the distinctions, stuff we didn't learn in school, share with the world so that we can lead quality lives. So today I have Gregory Fischer, and he's going to talk to us all about entrepreneurship. He's the co-founder of Burn Pit BBQ. We talk about building a business, entrepreneurship, adversity. It's going to be a fascinating story. I love entrepreneurs. So, Greg, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Christopher. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here.
We had met through Podmatch, but tell the audience about your story, your background, and how you got started. It's quite inspiring.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I kind of have the non-traditional route, I guess you could say, to entrepreneurship. Out of high school, I joined the Marine Corps, and I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, and a lot of that time was overseas in combat. And then when I came back home, I wanted something steady, predictable. So I got my degree and I went to work for a large corporation for 10 years. But as I was kind of climbing that corporate ladder, I really found that that wasn't where I was supposed to be. So all along that same time, I was barbecuing and grilling in the backyard, doing new recipes and sauces and seasonings and stuff. And in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I really kind of took a look at my life and made the decision that it was time to try something new just because I wasn't happy anymore. So I quit my job in the middle of the pandemic, and I launched Burn Pit BBQ with my good friend Ben, and we've been going ever since.
Yeah, I think I did the same in 2008 when the banks were collapsing, and looks like 2020. I think that was just basically a slap in the face to the world, telling people to wake up. You did it. You achieved success, and so tell us about this. So what's quite interesting is that so you've been through a lot of adversity. People think, oh, they have these jobs and they're 9 to 5, they commute, all this stuff, and they're like, I'm unhappy. But then they're like, oh, I want to do entrepreneurship. Tell people that you're gonna go through a lot of ups and downs. It's not easy. You may not see success for a couple of years. Lay out the
Yeah.
picture for people.
Yeah, I think it's easy for people to get swept up in what they see maybe on social media, the glamour stories of, millions of dollars in the first few months or the first year. And, obviously that's possible and intriguing. But I'd say for the most people that start a small business or a business, there's a long run up before you start seeing some of the success of the years of hard work that you've put in. So yeah, I mean, I initially where I still have my family was a big reason and a big kind of deterrent early on for me leaving my corporate job because I needed, a paycheck, I needed health insurance and all these things because I had a family to provide for. And when it got to that point where I was just so unhappy that anything else would do, was when I had that conversation with my wife, and then we made it work. But we're still, almost 3 years into this thing, and we're starting to see the fruits of our labor because we've been consistently putting in time over the last 3 years. But like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of ups and downs, and I think the mindset you have to have when you go into entrepreneurship is that even though there's going to be ups and downs, is that you have to maintain a consistent kind of mindset to make sure that you continue to carry on. Otherwise, those highs and lows can really get you.
Yeah, it's like working out. You're not going to be able to run a marathon in a day. You have to train
Right.
for it months at a time. You got to put in your miles. You got to put in your 10 miles, 13 miles. You got to do your long runs. You got to eat right. And I love this idea of consistent habits, just like putting it in, being intentional. Then you love this idea where the best investment you can make is in yourself. It's not going to be in real estate or some stock or whatever. It's going to be in yourself. And tell us this idea of betting on yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of kind of been my motto for the past few years is bet on yourself because it's the only safe bet, especially during down times when organizations are laying people off, people are losing their jobs. One thing that you can't lose is the skill set that you develop or you create and you build over time. So even if you lose a job or even if you find yourself down, you're always going to have those skills and capabilities that you build. So the best investment that you can have in yourself is continue to build skills that are valuable. Not only if you want to go find another job, but also if you want to build your own business. I can say over the past 3 years, just by putting myself out there and being open to conversations like this, that I've developed so many new skills that I wouldn't have had I been still in that job, in a corporation, doing the kind of same repetitive tasks and not getting these opportunities to share my story and then also grow and develop as a person. So, putting yourself out there, taking a little bit of risk as well, it goes hand in hand with, betting on yourself.
Mm, yeah, I love that. And one you came from the military, and how did your military experience prepare you for entrepreneurship? And how do you talk about this idea of being the foundation for your future?
Yeah, so the military obviously was a huge influence on me early on. I was a senior in high school when September 11th happened, and that really helped kind of make up my mind what I was going to do after high school once I graduated in 2000. Based off of that time frame, I was heavily involved with what was going on in Iraq and the Middle East as a Marine infantryman. I made 3 combat deployments there, and really what that did was it instilled a lot of discipline in me. Just through boot camp and training, you have to be able to follow directions as well as have some initiative. So being able to be a self-starter, making decisions on the fly, and being a leader in the absence of leadership. So a lot of those things can carry over into entrepreneur. And I guess the foundation is all of those things is having the ability to be able to react and adapt quickly,
Mm,
but then also being able to take a step back and looking at the big picture, and making sure that you're making the right decisions and also putting in people in place that they're going to be successful.
yeah, the best metaphors in life you can learn through sports, military, building a business. These are things you can't learn in school. You have to be in there. So I love that, and I really think that this idea it's great. So you go from combat to the kitchen or the business world. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of a
Yeah.
quick
Yeah.
analogy. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like you're like going from war to like the kitchen, but you actually, there's a lot of principles. So tell the audience about that.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a gap there. Obviously, 10 years in the corporate world, but, combat, corporate, kitchen kind of thing. A lot of the principles, I guess you could say, remain the same. Entrepreneurship is similar to something that, in the military, there's things that you have to do each day to make sure that you're prepared for the unexpected. But at the same time, you have to be able to adapt and be agile, and make sure things are in place that, when things do change, that you're ready to go and it doesn't really cause too much of an issue. So there's a lot of those same principles that carry over, especially in a business where you're dealing with, food or people, how people prepare food. So there's a lot of similarities between the military and that piece of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. It's like because kid, whatever is business, if you the analogy is profitability, cash flow revenues. If you don't have that, you're gone. So similar
Yeah.
to combat, but then you're dealing with physical lives there. So what does Burn Pit BBQ do? How does it serve its customer? Tell me more.
Yeah, so when we decided that we were going to go down this route of barbecue sauces, seasonings, rubs, one of our main motivators was we saw a lot of people that were starting to grill and barbecue from home because they couldn't go out to their favorite restaurants during the pandemic. So people buying new grills, new smokers, and me and my friend had a long a decade long worth of knowledge and experience to be able to share. So we started off with a simple blog, just sharing recipes and tips on how to barbecue and grill. But at the same time, we saw the products on the shelf in the supermarkets were a lot of them were filled with additives, additional sugars, just things that really didn't need to be in there when you're. So we wanted to provide an alternative to that, and that's an all natural product. So everything that we have is all natural. So gluten free, GMO free, low sodium, low sugar, and it's all made here in the state of Wisconsin. Again, another piece that we wanted to do was be able to provide, um, products that are made here locally that we can continue to reinvest into our local state and economy. So those things were important to us. So basically, a blog, some recipes, some products to help people cook delicious foods, and that's what our mission is.
I love that. As we get more kind of to the end of it, tell the audiences, if there one piece of advice you would give someone looking to start their own business, what would be, where can they go for resources, books, podcasts, YouTube channels, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice, like if I could go back and to when I first started, would be like start small and then grow over time. My journey was extreme, right? I quit my job and I jumped into this, and that's not for everybody. For me, it was a big risk, but it was something that I had to do because I felt like if I were still just doing a side hustle in a corporate environment, like I would never leave my job and pursue this full time. So I kind of had to do it for my own, personal reasons.
Mhm.
But I'd say start small if you can, start on the side, and then kind of continue to build and try new things after that. As far as books and podcasts go, the biggest book that I continue to kind of rely on and use, um, Tim Ferriss's The 4 Hour Week is a big one that helped motivate me and give me ideas.
Mm.
Another one would be Keith Ferrazzi, Never Eat Alone. That's a great
Mhm.
book that I love, and I still refer back to it often.
Mhm.
So those are two I would say to get kind of somebody to get motivated, get ideas. And then as far as podcasts go, I'm a big fan of Andy Frisella and his podcast. There's a lot of other ones over there like Game Changer, Alex Ramosi. So
Mhm.
some of those ones are my favorites that I like to listen to get inspired by and get ideas from.
Yeah, there's so much wealth of knowledge out there. Find your favorite influencer, follow them. You can check them out on so many social media. They got so many resources. It's endless. So
Yeah,
it's not lack of resources, it's lack of execution.
exactly right. That's exactly what we see is the people got, there's not a lack of knowledge out there. There's a lack of action. So if
Yeah.
don't read a bunch of books and not take action, read one good book and take action.
Yeah, exactly. How can people contact you, follow you on social media, check your company out, and so on?
Yeah, so for the barbecue business, you can find us on our website, Burn Pit. You can also find us on the social medias, Burn Pit BBQ on Facebook, and then Burn Pit BBQ Guys on Instagram. But then personally, for me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Greg Fischer, and then also on Instagram at the Mindset of a Marine. And that's where I kind of share a little bit more personal and tactical information about how people can go about developing goals and mindset to tackle the challenges that they might face.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I love talking to entrepreneurs and, like I said, just reconnecting to that mindset and talking about on business and taking risk, betting on yourself. So for all the listeners out there, Greg's resources will be in the links and show notes. And let's thank Greg for coming out to the show.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, Christopher. It was a pleasure talking with you.